Good morning. I'm going to be showing you today how to do a hard cooked egg. The reason I say hard cooked is because we're not boiling these eggs, we're actually steaming them. I have found over my experience that this actually works better than to do the hard boiling. It has a more consistent temperature and it works like that. So there's a couple things that you'll need. One, you'll need the egg that was in your culinary kit. And then the other thing you'll need is a steamer. Now, this particular steamer that I just want to show you here is a bamboo steamer. If you have one of these work amazingly well. These you can get at Asian markets or other places, but you don't need one of these. If you do choose to use one of these or some kind of a steamer, then you just add about an inch or two of water in the bottom of a skillet and bring that to a boil. What I've done instead is come up with a way that I think most of you will have these things on hand, is you need a pan that has a lid, and then you're going to bring, again, 2 to 3 cups of water to boil. It does need to have a lid so that it keeps the steam in there. And then you need some kind of a strainer or a sieve or a colander, and it can be all kinds, anything that will fit inside there. So it could be a vegetable steamer, it can be just a colander like this, or a strainer, anything that will work. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put that on top of this water that you're bringing to a boil. And I'm going to wait just a moment just to make sure the water is boiling. And while that's doing, I want to talk to you about my egg. I always write on my eggs when I'm going to boil them. And the reason I do that is when I go to grab it out of the refrigerator, if I see that it has writing on it, then I know, hey, this is a hard-boiled one, and I don't try to crack it and put it in my stuff. Sounds like a silly thing, but I have done that more than once because you know how your brain is working early in the morning. So I write something to make me feel good, a positive word, something on my egg before I steam it. So it's just like I said, just a way to keep track of which ones are hard boiled, or excuse me, hard cooked, and which ones are not. Now, as I mentioned, that I know of 6 different ways to hard boil eggs, but this I think is the most consistent because steam is the same temperature. If I take my egg and I put it in one method that's very popular is to put it into cold water and then bring that water to a boil. Well, depending on the temperature of my egg, depending on how long it takes my water to boil, depends on how long it's going to take to cook. So now that my water is just about to boil and I can see that it's getting nice and steamy here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just put my egg in the colander, so it's not actually touching the water, it's just being consumed by steam. And then I'm going to time this egg to be done in 15 minutes. So in 15 minutes, we'll be back. Okay, here we're back. It's been 15 minutes and my timer just went off just a moment ago. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to remove my egg. I'm using my tongs so I don't burn myself because this egg is going to be really hot, and I'm dropping it into cold water. If you have ice water, that's great, but otherwise just let it sit, and I'm just going to let it sit there so it gets just pulls down the temperature a little bit. Sorry, my mustard just fell over. Okay, because with this, what I'm going to do is this. I'm done with my pan, so I can turn that off. And basically, like I said, it's done its job. Now, the equipment I'm going to need for the next part is I need. I usually like to use a small paring knife, a spoon or a teaspoon, something to mix with, some spices. You can use salt, pepper. I'm also putting out paprika, and I have some everyday seasoning. I want to just show you how some things could work. I went outside in my garden, and I have some chives that have just started to come up. I have some parsley, and I found an olive in my refrigerator, and I'm going to show you how to do some garnishing with this, because what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to peel your egg, cut it open, and then turn it into a deviled egg, which you don't have to do the deviled egg. Some people like them, some people don't. If you are vegan, vegetarian, if there's somebody in your house who would eat it, make it to their specifications. If nobody in your house eats eggs, you know, obviously this will be a little bit more of a challenge, and you know, just let me know that. But here we go. I'm going to show you the egg has cooled down a little bit. What I do is I take the egg. It has it's taller at the top than it is at the bottom, and so you want to hit this top, because up here at the top in the biology of an egg, there's actually a little air sac that's right there, and so that air sac will give you a place to be able to reach your thumb underneath and take the shell off without damaging the white of the yolk. So I'm going to click this on, and you can, so it just has a little divot at the top, and then I just reach under, and then I'm going to go ahead and put this into my composting bucket, because eggshells are really, really good to compost. And what I'm doing is when I'm taking the shell off, I'm just putting the fleshy part of my thumb is going underneath the shell, so that way I can pull the shell off without having to, like I said, I don't want to puncture my egg. I'm trying to get the shell off but leave the egg intact. So I'm just pulling, it just should come off very easily. Now that's come off. And then I'm just going to rinse in my water quickly to make sure I've got all shells off. Sometimes there'll be a little bit of, like a little bit of a membrane. If so, just pull that off, because you could do that. Now, once I have my nice, lovely egg, I'm going to go ahead and cut it from top to bottom. And when I open up my egg, it should be bright yellow. I don't know if you can see that very well. It should be bright yellow and fluffy. I shouldn't see any green. I shouldn't see any gray. If I see green or gray, that means that I've overcooked it just a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is pop those eggs out, and you can just basically push from the bottom and the egg will come out. Now, if you do not want to do deviled eggs, you could stop right now and you could actually just garnish this egg just the way it is, just to show me. So before you take a picture to send me back what you've done, go ahead, put any of the stuff I'm about to do with deviled eggs you can do, but let me show you how to do a deviled egg. Now, I think it's rather ironic that in Germany they called deviled eggs Russian eggs, because they apparently didn't like the Russian people very much. But it's just a process here. What I'm going to do is add just a tiny bit of mustard. It can be any kind of mustard you have, even the kind of mustard, I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. Here, set that aside. So, it's just a tiny, just maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon. I'm going to take some mayonnaise. Again, I can use any type of mayonnaise I have. I'm going to put just slightly more, maybe 1/2 teaspoon of mayonnaise. So I have about that much. Now, I will confess to you right now, I am not a person who likes mayonnaise or mustard, but I do like the way they add to this. Some people say, I don't like eggs, and I was one of those people. When I was in middle school, high school, I did not like eggs. I didn't eat them at all. And then one day I realized that eggs were very much related to, I did like quiche. So, and then I realized that quiche was pretty much just an omelet in a crust. And then I realized that an omelet was just a fancy scrambled egg. And I also have realized over the years that eggs don't really have a taste of their own, but they're full of umami. Now, if you remember from me talking about flavors before, umami is the thing that makes other things taste better. That's why eggs are used so much around the world. So here's a couple things for you to know. Eggs are an incredibly good and inexpensive source of protein. That they're a renewable source of protein, because the chicken, I can have the egg, and once I've eaten the egg, I can go ahead and my chicken will lay me another egg tomorrow, because chickens lay about 1 egg every day. If you've been watching my videos that I sent out to you, there's a whole bunch of information. So what I'm doing now is I'm just taking my mixture. This is called egg butter, by the way. Anytime we smush something, we call it a butter. That when we smush up peanuts, we call it peanut butter. When we smush up almonds, we call it almond butter. When we smush up egg yolks, we call it egg butter. So what I'm doing now is I'll move that away because I'm done with that. So I've refilled my eggs with my egg butter. I am now going to season. You can season the egg butter before you put it in if you want. I know some people who put all kinds of things. I like to put mine on the top so people can see what they have. You can just use simple salt and pepper. This is an everyday seasoning that we got at Trader Joe's. I'm just going to actually do it in the lid first. So, and I only need a tiny sprinkle. And I'm just going to sprinkle just a little bit over the top just to give it some color. If you wanted, like I said, just use salt and pepper, you can. But you can also be a little bit fancy. I can take this olive and slice it into smaller pieces and put, like I can garnish it with that if I want to. I can take one of these parsley leaves that I found out in my garden and stick that there too, so it's got the 3 colors. The thing about, so I can go ahead and garnish. I can take some of these chives and make a longer, skinnier kind of thing if I want to. And the fun thing about eggs, is there are a million gazillion recipes for eggs. It's like I have a cookbook that's 500 recipes for eggs, and everyone is different. They're incredibly versatile. They're accessible, and people like them. As I said, they enhance the flavors of other things. Something that a lot of times people use will be paprika. So they just put a little bit of paprika on the top if they want to add a little bit of color. And just the tiniest bit just to sort of give some flavoring. A lot of people I know like to put sriracha. You can do that if you want to. You can do colored salts. So here I'm just going to move forward for a little bit so you can sort of see up close, and I'll take a better picture once I get done with this. So that's how I'll end today, is just letting you know that please steam your egg. You decide to do a hard-boiled egg. I keep calling it hard-boiled because that's what we've always called it. But do your hard-cooked egg. Turn it into a deviled egg if you want to, and then send me a picture. Have a good time with this. Right. See you soon.